Today's story is Moon the List Maker by Donna Jean Amburgey. Donna Amburgey has written several short stories and a couple of novels. Her books, Tears, Fears, and Arrowheads, and Medicine Men, can both be found on Amazon and Kindle. Today we're reading a short story by Donna called Moon the List Maker. Moonhavers got her nickname Moon when she was 12. Moon's mother always said you could rely on Moon like the phases of the moon. That's how reliable she was and so regular in her habits. Moon appreciated regularity. She did not like surprises, even when it came to getting birthday or Christmas presents. She much preferred her parents consult her list of desirable presents. Off-the-list presents sat on Moon's bookshelf, where she looked at them occasionally and wondered what to do with them. Soon enough, Moon discovered schedules of all sorts in the real world. School calendars, the comings and goings column in the Verona Weekly, the mailman's predictable stop and thump, and moving on. Secretly, Moon kept a log of the exact time the mailman pushed the red flag to the horizontal. No one appreciated Moon's interest in timing or the way she thought things through more than her friend Anna. Anna Murphy's family owned a vegetable and fruit stand on land that ran along Highway 47 outside of Verona. Moon and Anna were growing up at the same time the small-town tourist attractions were starting to pop up along the state highway. Just within 10 miles of Verona, there was a Crazy Corners amusement park where you could stop and ride go-karts if you had the urge, and a curious exotic animal farm where you could get a look at a few animals from other countries, like a camel and a wild pig. The governor approved renaming the winding stretch that bordered the Mississippi for about 200 miles the Scenic River Road, and changed all the highway signs to mark the way. Sure enough, before long, people started coming along in their station wagons, usually pulling a pop-up camper trailer and loaded down with kids. In the summer, it got to be 95 degrees there along the flat river road on a regular basis, and there were not many places to stop for a cold drink. Moon and Anna took care of the fruit stand, and Moon started keeping track of the number of times that folks asked whether they sold root beer or lemonade or anything to keep the kids from getting cranky. Anna told her daddy and showed him the neat pencil marks that Moon had lined up in rows and columns during an especially hot week. Mr. Murphy made some notes and numbers himself and pretty soon installed a big cooler where he kept bottles of soft drinks of all kinds and even a few bottles of beer in the back for himself. Moon saw how the kids were standing around in the sun, and their parents too, even with their cold bottles of pop. She told Mr. Murphy he should build a few picnic tables and put them in the shade of the tree so that people could eat their sandwiches from their coolers and naturally have a chance to look over the melons and start to want a taste. That was how Moon got her first start in business, advising the Murphy family about their fruit stand. Some years later, she took Anna with her to the village board meeting and convinced the mayor and the board members to make up a slogan for the town. Maybe the melon capital of the Midwest or something. The board sure wanted a slogan to keep up with the other towns strung along the river road, and they themselves couldn't think up anything better than what Moon and Anna came up with. And it was getting late, and they all wanted to go home, so they voted and approved enough money to spend for 2 signs as you come into town from each direction, north and south, along the scenic river road. And the families driving up and down the scenic river road ate it up. The Murphy roadside stand had added on to selling everything from India jewelry to River Road t-shirts throughout the 1960s. Hometown Jam proved very popular. The Murphys were set. "I will be your friend forever," Anna told Moon every time they saw each other. Now, Moon could think about her own self. Right around that time, talk began at the Mellow Melon Cafe that a big new prison would be built on the edge of town. The morning waitress, whose name was Faith, was the one to tell Moon all about it one morning. "It will take up about a square mile, past what used to be Frigoli's West acreage, across the highway," Faith defined it. At the next village board, some of the farmers' wives that had already put up "No prison" signs on their board fences next to the highway began to circulate a petition. Moon read the petition, but quickly passed it along behind her. In her mind was the thought, a town as thirsty as Verona in the summertime needs a tavern, especially for folks stopping by to visit relatives in prison. From that moment, her thoughts never strayed far from what she began to call the Great Escape. The no prison people lost their battle with the village board and county commissioners. There was just too much potential for some new jobs at the prison in a small town that desperately needed paying work. By the time the reinforced concrete foundation was being poured for the prison, Moon had gotten her permits and liquor license and rented an old building on Front Street. She opened her doors to serve the working men from the construction site. Money did pour in. The Great Escape was the only place in Verona where a guy who had worked all day breathing concrete dust beneath a cloudless August day along the river could go for a cold one and small talk with Moon. All that summer and through the fall, Moon poured her way through the union carpenters, electricians, excavators, and landscapers who crowded her tavern. While she poured, she was working in her mind on lists of things that needed to be done to get ready for the grand opening of the big prison. Refinish the floors. Put in some pool tables in the back. Hire a cook and start serving cheeseburgers and French fries at lunchtime. Take out a few more ads in the Verona Regular. Then the prison was done, and its curling lengths of barbed wire topping the double rows of fencing sparkled in the morning sun as Moon drove by on her way to the Mellow Melon for coffee in the morning. There was no talk in the cafe except prison talk. When it would open, who would likely get the best jobs, most people holding that it would be the kids or unemployed relatives of politicians. That's just how it seemed to always be. Everyone watched the classified ads for the hiring announcements. The prison was done. The laborers were gone now, and each day only 2 white state-issued cars passed the cafe on the way to the prison, stayed parked outside all day, and left again at 5 o'clock. Moon watched the comings and goings as closely as she had clocked the mail carrier when she was a teenager. She kept track of the passing days and the silent prison in a small black notebook. She watched the ads for job opening and made lists of things to do before the out-of-town families, the prison visitors, the workers, and sometimes a lawyer or social worker stopped by for a burger and a beer. She calculated the expense of a single burger down to the cost of a single sheet of wax paper that would line the red mesh basket. Each day now, Moon sat alone in her tavern, except for the occasional bow hunter. Moon disdained hunters in general. They operated on the principle of surprise that was simply against Moon's love of predictability. As the days and weeks passed, and the prison did not open, Moon became more and more impatient with any unexpected turn of events. A small offense like being sent a free gift in the mail or receiving a telephone message from the dentist to reschedule an appointment made weeks earlier upset her entire morning. Downstate, at the Capitol, all hell had broken loose. Somehow, nobody knew for sure why, but there was a hole in the state budget that grew in estimates from $250 million in December to $500 million in February to $750 million in March, and now, with the new budget year about to begin, a whopping $1 billion shortfall in anticipated revenues. The anticipated tax revenues, based on a 10-year economic boom, were drying up faster than the farm fields during summer drought. Projects all around the state, from bike paths to war memorials to highways to prisons, were scrapped. The hole in the budget was like a black hole, sucking in plans and dreams where they were crushed to nothing at all. Moon stopped looking at the prison when she drove by to the Mellow Melon in the morning, for it had grown strangely dim, as if the shining barbed wire was already tarnishing, and wild morning glory was already starting to twine up the heavy mesh fencing. Now the corn growing taller in the field separating the prison and the scenic highway, the shimmering prison was vanishing. Only talk remained. I heard that the sanitary district wouldn't give the prison the rights to put through its sewage, Faith claimed. I bet they was afraid of the AIDS coming out of there. Summer, with its flat, wet heat, crawled along, and Moon passed her days reading the paper and calculating how many days she could hold out before giving up the great escape. About 28 days, she figured. On the 15th day after that, Moon was drinking her third cup of coffee at the cafe when Anna Murphy hurried in and sat down across from her in the booth. From the look on her face, Moon knew something important was coming. Anna started playing with the watermelon-shaped salt shaker and smiled at Moon, her friend forever. Have you heard? Moon had not heard anything good, and Anna's smile could only mean something good at last. The big steamboat resort out of La Crosse is going to build a dock right here at Verona to stop here every day from April through October and let people off for a couple of hours, Anna said softly. Maybe they like watermelon. Moon dug in her purse for her calculator and a pen. She started writing down numbers on the placemat that was cut, of course, like a slice of watermelon here in the melon capital of the Midwest. She had a lot of lists to make, so she might as well get started.